get this chicken on the grill right then. And makes it easy when I cut it with this electric knife. And I like it in bite-sized pieces, so that's what I do. So I found using gadgets like an electric knife, because of my neck and pain, that this helps make it easier to do. You can use in this recipe frozen chicken fajita, but I just don't think it's nearly as good as using fresh cooked fajita meat. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, got all of our stuff out for our tortilla soup. We've already pre-cooked and cut our chicken last night. Got all my vegetables washed. Now I've got to do is peel them and cut them. Let's make some tortilla soup. Okay, so I've got my apron on that my mom got me for Christmas. It's my grandmother's nightgown, and she had it made into an apron, and I just love it. Okay, so I've got my recipe here. So I'm going to move the chicken to the side because I don't need it right now. And I'm going to start with cutting up my vegetables. I'm going to start with the onion. So this recipe is really easy to make, but the only problem is it is a lot of chopping. So I try to minimize that because of the issues I have with my neck and the muscle spasms that I deal with when I chop a lot. It really aggravates my neck. So one of the tricks that I use, you can buy an off-brand. I just happen to have a Pampered Chef chopper, and I love it. I use it all the time, and it really helps in the kitchen. Mandolin helps too. We've got a lot of chopping to do. Just peeling my onion. Okay. I just cut my onion just a few times to make it easier for the chopper to get it. And then I just take my chopper, stick it under there. Put about 10 punches. And I use a paper plate and put my vegetables as I chop them in here so that I can add them in the order they're supposed to go in. Also, this thieves oil from Young Living, if you set it right here, it'll keep your eyes from watering when you're cutting these onions. So I use a yellow onion. You can use white onion. So truly the hardest part of this recipe is the chopping. This little chopper makes it nice. I've tried to use a food processor, but when I'm cutting my vegetables, I just don't like the way it cuts them. Now I'm doubling my recipe because I make some for my in-laws because they are older and I try to cook them a meal every couple of weeks. And my kids all love it, so when I have tortilla soup, I have to invite all of them over. This is probably their favorite meal of anything I cook. So there's my onion. I'm going to set it aside. And then I'm going to do my jalapeno. These are small jalapenos, so I'm just doing 3 because they're so small. And they add a lot of flavor. Same thing, I'm just going to cut them in half and then I'm going to let the chopper do the rest. this is all going to be sauteed together. So I'm going to stick these jalapeños right in here with this onion. And then I'm going to do, oops, let me do my garlic next. So I like a lot of garlic. It calls for 2 cloves. But I'm going to do probably 5, maybe 6. So I'm just going to peel these real quick. I'm not real good at following the recipe. I always add a little more of this, a little more of that, a little less of this. So we got all of those. Okay, there's the garlic. Okay, so then I'm going to set this to the side. And onion, I did my jalapeno. Now I need to do my celery and my carrots. So, trim the bottoms. This is where I could use my mandolin, but I'm not, because I like mine to be straight. I'm not going to change the taste if I use my mandolin, but I don't know. A little OCD with that kind of stuff. So it says these are a little bit small because the store was out of the bunches of celery, so I had to get them already cut. So I added a few extra. This recipe calls for 5 stalks, and I added a couple of more. So this is pretty easy. So I don't really need to use the mandolin. I'm just cutting it into slices. So I could do that, or I could put it in my mandolin. Let's see how that works. But see, that doesn't cut as uniform, so I would just rather cut them by hand. You see that? And they've got kind of an angle to them. I guess it isn't a big deal. I just prefer to cut them by hand. See, that ended up being a big piece, so I had to end up chopping it anyway. I don't think I cut those when I cut the other ones. Peel my carrots. It calls for 2, but these are pretty small carrots, so I'm going to put 3. After you eat this tortilla soup, nothing is as good. This is, to me, the best I've ever eaten. My kids agree. And I figure I'm making up one batch, might as well double it. It never goes to waste. See, I almost feel like it needs more carrots than that. So I'm going to get a few baby carrots and add some more carrots to it. I don't have any more big carrots. So I'm going to add a few of those. And I've already washed these, so I don't have to do that. I use Cutco knives, and I think they're just amazing. So, okay, I added 8 baby carrots to that, because carrots are good for you anyway. So compared to the celery, you can see I wanted to have about a third amount of carrots as I do the celery. Okay, then I'm going to do my bell pepper. So it's how I do mine. And I don't want to waste any, so I cut the top off and then I cut around it, throw the seeds away. The seeds out of the middle, if there's any left, there's just a few. So I don't cut all the way through, I just cut it like this, just enough to get the top off, so that when I pull it out, you get all those seeds. See, there's not much inside. So I'm just going to pull the extra white flesh out of there, and then I can take this whole thing and just pull it right off. Then just cut it into chunks, and I'm going to use my chopper again. So the key to this is not to overstuff the bottom, so that you can get the blade in there. And I don't like chunks of bell pepper, so I try to do it pretty fine. I don't mind bell pepper in things that I cook as long as they're not big chunks. So I'm doing about 12 little pumps with that. Okay, so now it tells me to heat my margarine. We're going to use 4 tablespoons of margarine. So I just cut it up. Very careful with my knife. That's probably not the best way to do it. Oh well. So I'm going to heat that up in my oil. So I need a 1/2 cup of oil. So I'm going to get my 1/2 cup measuring cup. And I probably need a little bit more. I'll just put a 1/2. I don't use it nearly as much. I should use a whole cup of oil and 8 tablespoons of butter since I'm doubling it. But I'm not going to do that. I think this is plenty. So I'm going to let that melt. Got all that boiling, and now I'm going to add my onion, garlic, celery, carrots, jalapeño, the rest of my bell pepper. I'm going to give this a good stir. Coat all those vegetables. Get them all mixed up. All those flavors mixed together. I'm going to add my cumin, and I need 1 teaspoon, but since I'm doubling it, I'm going to do 2 teaspoons, and I always add a little more of this because I think it really makes it yummy. So I'm just going to do some heaping teaspoons of cumin. And then I'm going to add the chili powder, and it calls for 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to do not quite as big of heaping, but okay. Add a little more, just a little pinch more. And then I'm going to do the lemon pepper. So just some lemon pepper here, and it calls for 1 teaspoon. So I'm just going to do kind of a heaping teaspoon of that. And then the Tabasco sauce, and it calls for 1/2 teaspoon. I don't measure this, I just give it a few. So it'd be 1 teaspoon because I'm doubling it. Just squirt it all in there of regular Tabasco. And Creole seasoning. Sometimes I use different ones, but this is the one I'm using today. And it calls for 1 teaspoon. So there's the Creole seasoning. And I'm going to mix that really good before I add my flour to it. I like to mix it in there, let it, before I add the flour, let these seasonings saute with these vegetables. Make it all good and coated. All those flavors brought together. And then I'm going to go ahead and open my cans while that's simmering. Open up 2 cans and then give it another stir. Okay, now I'm going to add my flour in, and it's 1/2 cup, so I need a whole cup of flour. Got my flour, and I use unbleached flour. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to sprinkle it a little at a time, and then give it a mix. This kind of makes like a little roux. You add that flour, changes the texture. All right, so I got to get liquid in there quickly, so it tells me to add my Rotel tomatoes. Got to open up my can. I don't drain them, I just stick them all in there. And give it a stir. We need to get that liquid in there so it doesn't burn. I'm going to turn my stove off while I do the rest of this. And now we're going to add the chicken broth. So I'm going to remove this from the heat a minute so it doesn't keep going. And it tells me that I need 42 ounces times 2 of chicken broth. Okay, I need 84 ounces of chicken broth. This is a 4-cup measuring. So I'm gonna need 2 full 4 cups and then 20 ounces. And I use this Knorr chicken bouillon powder. So for every 1.5 cups, I need 3 of these, or 1 of these, 1 teaspoon. So I'm gonna do, I add a little extra, so I'm gonna add 3 teaspoons, and then I'm gonna take it over here to my hot water that I was already letting to run. I'm gonna give it a good stir, and I made some chicken broth. Then I'm gonna pour it in my pot here, and then I'm gonna give it a good stir, and then I'll go over there and make some more chicken broth to stick in there. I wanna get all this lumpiness. Okay, now I put it back on the heat. All right, while that cooks, I'm gonna go do the rest of the chicken broth. I like this better than buying cans of chicken broth or boxes of chicken broth that I gotta store. Put that in, and now I need 20 more ounces. So that's gonna be 2.5 more cups. So I'll just add 2 teaspoons of the bouillon powder to this. Give it a good stir. Pour it in there. Give it a good stir. Mix all those flavors together. Okay, while that's simmering, I need to open my tomatoes. So I added my Rotel and my chicken broth. Now I need to add my diced tomatoes and my picante sauce, and my beans, and then my fajita meat. Okay, so I prefer Hunt's petite diced tomatoes. I usually get one that's no salt, add those in there. And then I get one that's just regular, because that chicken broth makes it pretty salty. You can always add sauce, but you can't take it away. Okay, so my salsa, I need half a cup of medium. And I don't think I have that. So I buy this, if I don't make my own, then I buy it done at the grocery store. This one I got at H-E-B. Sometimes I make my own. So there's one, add another. Okay, that's almost all of it. So I'm just gonna dump all of that in there. No sense putting a little bit back in my refrigerator. And give that a stir. Okay, now I'm gonna add my pinto beans. I like ranch style or bush pinto beans are my favorite. But I really like when I make pinto beans and cornbread at home to save some of those and use fresh pinto beans that I've cooked, because that's even better than a can. But I don't have any of those, so we're gonna use our canned pinto beans. Now we're gonna give that a stir. Just a light stir. And you can see all the yumminess coming together. Then we're gonna add our meat, and we're done. So it calls for 2 cups of fajita meat that is thinly sliced, which I did last night. We cooked this on the grill. I buy the pre-marinated chicken breast at the grocery store. And then I'm not gonna measure this because I just know this is, I did 2 big packages of the meat. So I'm gonna stick that in there. Got a little bit of that broth because it's been in the refrigerator. Get my spoon, stir it all up and let it sit on the stove for an hour and cook. So I'm gonna simmer it for an hour. So I'm gonna put it on low, put the lid on it, and let it cook. So if you make this, be sure to tell me what you think about it in the comments. Okay, so you've got your soup. You add your cheese. Doing it one-handed. You're making a mess. Y'all ready for this deliciousness? I got a spoon. I like lots of cheese, and then I like a lot of cilantro, and then some avocado, and then I crush my chips up all in it, but you can just put them on the side too. And I open up my sour cream, give it a squirt. And that's yummy soup, tortilla soup. Appreciate you following along my journey, and if you know somebody that's struggling, even if it's not their neck or their back, but they're just having chronic pain issues or mental health issues, invite them to follow along and subscribe to our channel. We're going to be bringing you so many things that are going to help anybody in your everyday life restore hope, purpose, faith, and strength. So I
hope if you enjoy these videos that you will choose to subscribe. Be sure to comment because it really helps keep me going, and share. That's how you can help us, help you, and help others.